What's up YouTube, this is Santos representing Neo Overlay Network, and I'm back to show you guys and gals another deck profile, and this time it's going to be Magical Musketeers. I remember about a year ago when Sky Striker, Salamangreats, and Orcus were the top decks of the format, and all of a sudden Magical Musketeers came out of nowhere and made some noise, but they died down. Any deck that dies down here at Neo Overlay Network, we try to pick it up and make it as best as possible in the current format. And so you'll see what cards I chose to run in my deck build. Again, this is not a pure deck build. I added stuff that made it somewhat more compatible, and you'll see in a bit. So for the first off, I'll start off is going to be Magical Musketeer Casper, because the unique thing about Magical Musketeers is that they let you, during either player's turn, you can activate Magical Musketeer spells or trap cards from your hand. So they let you use any of their archetype spells and traps. Then they gain a unique ability of when a spell trap is activated in its column. Casper, his effect is that he lets you add any Magical Musketeer card. So he lets you get any spell card, trap card, whatever you need at the moment. And so he's really good because he's your searcher, so he's really good. And he's only level 3 that I decided to run, because there's other level 3s, but for me, and like I said, it's not a pure deck build. I didn't really see them their uses that much. So for the next off, I like Magical Musketeer Starfire. She's my favorite one, because for me, board presence is a big thing, and like all Magical Musketeers have, they let you activate during their player's turn. You could activate a Magical Musketeer spell / trap card from your hand. And if a spell or trap is activated in her column, she lets you special summon a level 4 or lower Magical Musketeer from your deck. So for me, like I said, board presence is awesome, and I decided to run all the level 4 Magical Musketeers, because you'll see later in the extra deck what I decided to run to make it OTK potential. And for me, she's the best one because she lets you have board presence and she lets you extend. And now for the next, I run 2 Magical Musketeer Wild, because he's just in name Magical Musketeers, because the link 1 lets you, depending when he's link summoned, and depending if your opponent controls spells or traps or monsters. But his effect, Magical Musketeer Wild, he just, same thing, they all let you activate spells and traps, their own Magical Musketeer spells and traps from your hand during either player's turn. And his effect is that you could target 3 Magical Musketeers in your graveyard, shuffle them back in your deck, and draw 1 card. So he lets you recycle, which is somewhat good, but for my deck build, I usually go OTK, so that doesn't come up. But I just run 2 because he is the highest attack level, and he's also level 4. For the last 2, I only run 10 Magical Musketeers. Like I said, it's not a pure deck build, because when I was running pure, like Yugioh was just pure control, and this I decided to make it more combo, because it can go combo with certain things, and you'll see. So her effect, during either player's turn, you could activate Magical Musketeer spell and traps from your hand, and then when a spell trap card is activated in her column, you could target 1 Magical Musketeer and your graveyard special summon it. So that's why I have a lot of level 4s, so I could go to certain Xyz plays and certain link plays if I need to, because I like to extend. So that's the last 2 Magical Musketeers. Now for the first engine I run is that I run the Danger engine. So I run 1 Danger Jackalope, 1 Nessie, 1 Chutsunoko, and the last one I run Mothman, because if anything, Danger Jackalope, when he's you can reveal it in your hand, and then your opponent discards 1 card from your hand. If it's not Danger Jackalope, he lets you special summon himself, and if it is discarded, it lets you search any other ones you need. And Danger Nessie, same thing. When he's discarded, he lets you, or actually, Danger Nessie lets you add any danger. Danger Jackalope lets you special summon any dangers from your deck. And Danger Jackalope, Tsuchinoko, when he's discarded, he lets you special summon himself. And so with Danger Jackalope, if he's discarded, I usually bring out Danger Mothman, because I want to have a lot of level 4s, because like I said, you will see in my extra deck what I run, and Danger Mothman, just a 1-of, because I don't want to see multiples, because you can't really resolve multiples, and just here to extend a little bit further, and they're all dark, and you will see why I mean when I say there are, why I need all darks. And for the next engine that I decided to play is a Chaos engine. And the only Chaos cards that I decided to run is one Black Dragon Collapse Serpent, the one White Dragon Wyvern Buster, because these two, other than being searchable with Chaos Space, Black Dragon Collapse Serpent is always live since you have a lot of light monsters. Magical Musketeers are fiend light attribute monsters, and you have a lot of them, so you have pretty much 10. And since you always link one, his effect is always live in your hand. And when he's sent from the field to the graveyard, he lets you search White Dragon Wyvern Buster, which goes into your link plays. Another monster that I like to run in this deck was the one Kage to Kage, because his effect is that also he's a searchable with Chaos Space, because it has a cannot be normal summon / set. And when you normal summon a level 4 monster, you can special summon him from your hand. But he can't be used for single material, but that's okay because you don't have tuners. And he's just here to just extend a little bit further for your Xyz players and your Link plays. And the last Chaos monster that I wanted to run was Chaos Dragon Levineer, because he's really good, because he gives you 3 versatile effects. One, if you have light monsters, you can banish up to 3 to special summon himself and to special summon another monster in the graveyard. His other effect, you can banish lights and darks from your graveyard to pop 2 cards from your opponent. And his last effect is that you can banish 3 dark monsters to rip a card from your opponent's hand. That last effect never comes up because I do run a lot of lights monsters. Even though I have a few dark monsters, that effect never really comes up because you'll see in my extra deck how fast my deck just wants to OTK, so it's just quick games, so it's pretty good. The Chaos engine is really nice because of Chaos Space. And for the next engine that I run was 3 Parallel Exceeds, because since you have a Link 1 monster, Parallel Exceeds always comes up. Even if you have multiples, it's fine, because then it's mostly later in grind games when I see that I need multiple Parallel Exceeds when I'm facing Subterror, Altergeist, Sky Strikers, like just pure control decks that like to grind a little bit more. That's when I see Parallel Exceeds a little bit, well, that's where it shines a little bit more. Because if you run 2, most times they do Ash. For me, like they usually negate it for sometimes, for some reason, you know? I don't know why, but yeah, that's why running 2 was just not enough. And then the other one is dead in your deck, and you can't really resolve it nor special summon him because you can't resolve his effect. So when you have 2, it just comes up really nicely, and then it goes into your later game plays. And if you don't know his effect, he just special summons himself to where a Link monster arrow points to, and he just searches himself to special summon himself from the deck, and you reduce his level to 4, and they both become 4. So it goes into your XC plays and your Link plays in my deck. So yeah. And next, now for the hand traps that I always like to run is Ash Blossom, because she just kills rogue decks. It was just when you know the timing to just negate, you know, a monster effect or something to search. She's just really good, and she's just versatile in any deck that you could just, you know, when you need it. She's really good, and she's there to back you up. The next hand trap that I like is just Sideframe Gamma. He's just really good in this format because he just negates certain monster effects, and then when you're able to bring them out your turn to bring out Sideframe Omega, obviously you could rip a card from your opponent's hand, which is really great. And now for the last 2 monsters, because I do run Dragoon, is, you know, Red Eyes Black Dragon and Dark Magician. Now for the spells. We're going over the Magical Musketeer spells. The only spell that I decided to run, and for me the best one, I was running the other one. It's just that the other one lets you target Magical Musketeer and double his attack and defense. And that didn't really come up when I was playing in games, when I was playing with other people. I was running 2 Cross Domination and 1 the other one, I can't remember its name, but it wasn't really good. I just decided to run 3 because this one's the best one, because if you control a Magical Musketeer monster, target one face-up monster in the field until the end of this turn. Change attack and defense to 0. And you'll see in my extra deck why I like that that effect, because if your opponent has a face-up attack position monster, you could just right away chain one of your Magical Musketeers, just normal summon it, then right away chain it, because since you could activate spells and traps from your hand into his column, then depending on which monster it is, it lets you plus certain ways. So Magical Musketeer combination is one of the best ones, in my opinion, and I'd rather maximize it because I always want to see it in my hand. And for the next spells that I decided to run is 3 Chaos Space. Since I do run the Chaos Engine, Chaos Space always comes up. He's just here to fix certain hands when you have multiple Magical Musketeers, because you could only normal summon themselves, and they don't, other than their own unique effect, they don't really combo off within their own archetype, and then they don't really combine with anything else. Like, they don't really interact with any other cards other than themselves. And Chaos Space is very general. You just need lights and darks, and I really liked the fact. I just really like the light and dark aspect of the deck. And if you don't know, is the Chaos Space, just when you activate it, you can send one light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, add a light or dark, which you saw I have a few that lets you extend further. And then monsters that cannot be normal summoned from or sled from the deck to your hand with a level 4 to 8 and with a different attribute than that monster, you could banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished lights or dark monsters that cannot be normal summoned / sled, place it into the bottom of the deck, then draw one card. So when you have Baby Collapse Serpent, it's really good because when it's banished, you could just activate Chaos Space from your graveyard to send it back to the deck and draw one card. So I just like to draw one card because I didn't run any draw cards in this deck. And for the next 2 spells, since you do have a Link 1, World Legacy Secession's always live in your hand. And for the extra copy of it, I just decided to run 1 or 2 World Legacy Secessions and 1 Monster Reborn, because like I said, you can only activate once per turn anyways. And Monster Reborn in your hand, pretty much you have 3 copies of a Monster Reborn in your hand or in your deck that lets you extend a little bit further. World Legacy Secession, since I have a lot of level 4s, you'll see in the extra deck why I want to have a lot of level 4s, and it just comes up. I can't express that enough because it really does. 1 Red Eyes Fusion, 1 Harpy Feather Duster here, just so I can't lose to back row decks because it's really good, and 1 Double Nothing, because now you kind of suspect something, because Double or Nothing, you pretty much know why I run it. And for the traps, starting with the best Magical Musketeer trap is the 3 Last Stand, because like I said, all Magical Musketeers lets you activate spells and traps from your hand during either player's turn. You can go in first or second, or actually you can't go second when you don't have a monster, but just when you have a monster on your field, the Magical Musketeer, they let you activate Magical Musketeer spells and traps. And this is the best one because it lets you, when your monster or when your opponent activates a spell and trap, it lets you negate. It lets you negate it and destroy it. So that's really important when they imperm you, or I don't know, just when they activate, I don't know, a spell like Sky Striker, their field spell, or I don't know, when you're playing Invoked, when they activate Magical Meltdown. You know, it just negates that spell and trap, and then, well, if you have a Magical Musketeer, if you activate it in its column, it gains those effects, and which is really good, and I think it's just the best one, and that's why I run 3, because I always want to see him in my hand. Even multiples, it's fine, because you can still activate it during your opponent's turn and your turn. And next, I run 3 Desperado. This one's somewhat good, that's why I'm showing it second, because the only sad thing about it is that you could target 1 face-up card on the field and destroy it. So nowadays, certain monsters or certain things can't get targeted, and that's why it kind of sucks. That's why you see Imperm somewhat. It's like, it's still good, but the thing is that certain monsters can be targeted, and that's what makes it somewhat not bad, but restricted in its effect. And same thing with Magical Musketeer Desperado. It's good when they activate, like, I don't know, a face-up continuous spell or trap. When they barely activate it, you could activate it and destroy it, and since it's not face-up anymore, it doesn't get resolved. So knowing what to like destroy, even it just, but it has to be face up, and then like I said, it's targeting, which is okay, and then you could just destroy any monster that you need or anything that's face up really, and it's really good in that aspect, but somewhat slow. And for the last two that I decided to run is Magical Musketeer, Dancing Needle. 2 is alright. If you want to run 1, it's cool too, because it's only for certain matchups. Because depending on the matchups, some certain road decks don't use that graveyard that much. They don't have that much graveyard resources, or they don't have much discarded in their graveyard. Certain decks like Orcus, Sky Striker, Dinos, that have like, they need their graveyard is pretty good, because its effect is that you could target up to 3 cards in the graveyards, and both of your graveyards and your opponents, to banish them, and that's pretty much it. It's really good and when you're facing those type of decks, but when you're facing something that doesn't really need the graveyard, it kind of sucks when you see 2 in your hand, or just even just running 1. It's okay because you could search it, but I decided to run 2 because you don't know the matchups you're going. When I'm playing online, I don't really see because you're playing online, you don't really know what you're playing, and then Dancing Needle is live since you could search it, and then once you know what you're playing, it becomes pretty important, and it's really good. So that's all for the deck. That's a 50 card deck going second build, because I'll go into the link monsters why I want to go second. So for the first extra deck monster I'm just going to show off is just Red Eyes Dragoon, because obviously Red Eyes Fusion. Verde Anaconda, because to bring out Dragoon, and 1 Side Frame Omegas, because you do have the Side Frame Gamma and Driver, and he does come up often, and if you don't have him, kind of sucks. You kind of do want to rip a card from your opponent's hand. So now for the link 1 that I was mentioning, the Magical Musketeer Max, because when I say it's like a going second deck, is that his effect is that if this card is link summon, you can activate one of these effects. One is that if your opponent controls spells and traps, you could special summon Magical Musketeer monsters from your deck up to the amount your opponent controls, but with different names. So if he controls 2, let's just say he controls 1 spell or trap, a field, face a field spell or something, he lets you special summon 1 Magical Musketeer from your deck in any position you want. So he lets you extend. That's why I want to go second, because he lets you, depending what your opponent controls, he lets you add certain things. And his other effect is that if your opponent controls monsters up to the amount he controls, you could add Magical Musketeers, spells and traps with different names up to the amount they control. So if he controls 2 monsters, he lets you add 2 spells and traps, and that affects only when your opponent controls monsters. So when you go first, I added a few things in the extra deck, so if I'm forced to go first, I'll have somewhat of a board to like protect myself for the first turn. But this is mostly going second deck, as you can see with the hand traps and certain things. I just want to get Magical Musketeer's max effect I just want to get his effect and get pluses going second, and which is really what makes it go somewhat combo, because of his effect. And you have Parallax Seas, and he's also a link 1, so that always comes up with Parallax Succession 2. Next, for the link monsters, I run 1 IPM Masquerina and 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Like I said, if I'm forced to go first, I could go somewhat combo and get IP and Nightmare on their turn, and you'll see I'm gonna make another Magical Musketeer combo video, and you'll see what I mean when it can go combo. 1 Axis Code Talker, because obviously link 4s are really good. Borsword Dragon, because another boss monster. This is arbitrary to you, Axis Code Talker, you could always change it for something else. They just really good boss monsters. Now for the XC monsters, because I don't know what I'm going against online. Abyss Dweller and Tornado Dragon are really good, because when I go against control decks, Tornado Dragon going first is really good to just destroy, spells and traps. If I know I'm going against something that really needs the graveyard, Abyss Dweller always comes clutch. So it's mostly here for if I'm going first. They don't really come up when I'm going second, because you'll see why, and you kind of notice what I'm pretty much running. It's a dead giveaway that I'm running Utopia package because I just want OTK. Just like I said, the Magical Musketeer cross domination negates the effect of a face-up monster and makes his attack 0. So I try to bait out as much negates and then try to bring this bad boy out, Utopia double or nothing, and then Utopia just to OTK and number S Utopia the lightning. If they do Ash your Utopia double, you at least have Utopia the lightning to destroy certain threats like Borosaur Dragon if your opponent already has him on the field, or Dragoon, or any big boss monster that you can't go over. Utopia the lightning takes care of him. And that's pretty much it, you guys. This is a 50 card going second build, and it's a chaos build / OTK potential. That's the way I decided to run it because I felt it was somewhat good for the format. And then since you have a Link 1, Parallax Seas, Parallax Seas session always comes live. And that's pretty much it, you guys. That's enough for me. This Santos representing Neo Overlay Network signing out.